Today's lesson is on adding and subtracting fractions. Our goal for today is to add and subtract fractions with common and uncommon denominators. As we go through the lesson, feel free to pause and rewind any slides you need to make sure you can keep up with your note sheet. I will try to prompt you at good times to pause the lesson. So we start by adding or subtracting fractions with common denominators. To add or subtract a fraction with a common denominator, we write the sum or difference of the numerator over that common denominator. For example, 4/9 minus 3/9, all we do is subtract 4 minus 3, and we get 1/9. Or if we add 1/5 plus 2/5, well, 1 plus 2 equals 3. Keep the 5 the same, 3/5. This should be a review, so if you guys want to go ahead and pause the video and try those two problems on your own, because I'm going to go through and solve them. 1/10 plus 3/10. We add the 1 and 3 to get 4. Our 10 stays the same. All fractions must be in lowest terms. 4 and 10 have a common factor of 2. So we divide each by 2. And we'll go down here to make some more room. We get 2/5. Next, we have 15/16 minus 7/16. 15 minus 7 is 8. 16 stays the same. 8 and 16, greatest common factor is 8. Divide that out of both of them, and we're left with 1/2. Again, we're always in common in lowest terms, excuse me. And problems that have multiple steps, always a good idea to circle your final answer. So now we're looking at adding or subtracting fractions that have different denominators. We have to add a step to what we did in the previous slide. So if we have 3/4 plus 3/5, first thing we have to do, determine the least common denominator of the two fractions. That's the least common multiple of our denominators. So 4 and 5. Well, we look at 4 and 5, and the least common multiple of them is 20. We rewrite our fractions by changing the numerators the same way we changed our denominators. So 3/4 became something over 20. Well, we did 4 times 5 to get 20. We've got to do 3 times 5 on top. We get 15. The other one are 3/5. So we had 3/5. We've got to get to 20s. 5 times 4 is 20. 3 times 4 on top to the same step is 12. So we've got 15/20ths and 12/20ths. So now we're going to add or subtract, in our case subtract, our rewritten fractions. And when we're done, we always look for lowest terms. So we've got 15/20ths, right, instead of 3/4, and plus 12/20ths instead of 3/5, which gives us 27 over 20. I have no problem with an improper fraction as your final answer, but if you choose to make it into a mixed number, that's fine. It becomes 1 and 7/20. I know it was a long summer, guys, and you may have forgotten some of this stuff, but I expect you to retain some of this knowledge you learned last year or years past. If you're not sure about what I did up here, make sure you talk to me the next day we're in class together. So now's a good time for you guys to pause the video and try these 4 problems on your own, because I'm going to keep going and do the answers right now. So 3/4 from 1/12. I know that the common denominator is going to be 12. 1/12 stays the same. 4 times 3 is 12. So 3 times 3 times 9. Add these up. We get 10 for the top. 12 stays the same. We go lowest term by dividing each part by 2 to get 5/6. 3/5 plus 1/2. Well, 5 and 2, we can multiply them together. We get 10 as a common denominator. 5 times 2 is 10, so 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 5 is 10. 1 times 5 is 5. Add these up. We get 11/10, which I'm okay with. Or you can convert that to 1/110. Next, we have 7/8 plus 2/3. Well, 8 and 3, ever in doubt, multiply them together. We get 24 for common denominator. 8 times 3 is 24. 7 times 3 is 21. 3 times 8 is 24. 2 times 8 is 16. Add these up. We get 37 24ths. Or to make it a mixed number, we could say 1 and 13 24ths. Either way is fine. And finally, we have 5/6 and 1/10. Plus 1/10, excuse me. The least common denominator is going to be 30. So 6 times 5 is 30, so 5 times 5 is 25. 10 times 3 is 30. 1 times 3 is 3. We add these up. We get 28 over 30, which in lowest terms becomes 14/15. Now regarding this last problem, if you don't see off the bat that 6 and 10 both go into 30, you can always multiply them together to get a different common denominator. It still works. We're just going to have to go lowest terms at the end. So, just up here we go. So let's say we do 6 times 10, combine them that way. Then we'll get 60 as common denominators. Well, 6 times 10 gave us 60, so 5 times 10 is 50. 10 times 6 was 60, 1 times 6 is 6. Add them up, we get 56 over 60. Kind of a big number, definitely not in lowest terms. If we work our way all the way down, we can divide each part by 4. It gets us down to that same final answer. So however you get to your final answer is fine by me. Just make sure it's always in lowest terms and as accurate as can be. This concludes today's lesson on adding and subtracting fractions.